I stood in the dim glow of the birthday candles, my own 50th flickering like dying stars on a cake that tasted of chalk and regret, while my sister Leela's laughter sliced through the room, ignoring me completely as she hugged our parents, the ones who'd always whispered I was the family disappointment. The vanilla scent clung to my skin, thick and cloying, mixing with the sharp tang of spilled red wine on the linen tablecloth. Forks clinked against plates loaded with roast lamb, its fatty juices pooling cold now, and I gripped my napkin, knuckles whitening, as the chant of happy birthday rose again, for her, not me, though we'd shared the same womb. My heart pounded with the bass from the old radio in the corner, playing our childhood tunes, but no one turned my way. That night, I vowed, silently, they'd all choke on their indifference when I dropped the bomb that would shatter their perfect little world forever. Life before that party felt like a warm blanket woven from years of quiet devotion, the kind that smothered without you noticing. I woke each morning to the salty ocean breeze drifting through my cliffside windows in Carmel, the foghorn moaning low in the distance like a lover's sigh. My days blurred into rhythms of success I'd built brick by brick, running a boutique real estate firm that specialized in luxury coastal properties, deals closing with the crisp snap of signing pens on heavy vellum contracts. Mornings started with fresh espresso from my machine, its steam hissing hot against my face, bitter crema coating my tongue as I reviewed listings on my laptop, screens glowing blue in the dawn light. I'd drive my sleek convertible along Highway 1, wind whipping my hair, tires humming over asphalt still dewy from night mist, to show multi-million-dollar estates to clients who smelled of expensive cologne and old money. Family gatherings anchored me back home in the Bay Area, where Mom and Dad's sprawling ranch house in Atherton sat amid manicured lawns that released the earthy scent of freshly cut grass underfoot. Leela, my younger sister by 2 years, was the golden child, the one who'd stayed close, married rich, popped out grandkids who toddled around with sticky fingers grabbing at my silk blouses. We'd gather for barbecues, smoke curling lazy from the grill, carrying the charred sweetness of ribs glazed in molasses. Dad would clap my shoulder, his calloused palm rough from decades tinkering in his garage, praising Leela's latest promotion at the firm, while nodding vaguely at my hustle. Mom baked her pecan pies, the crust flaky and golden, nuts crunching between teeth, and we'd laugh over photo albums, pages stiff with age, showing us as girls splashing in the pool, water cool and chlorinated against sun-warmed skin. I poured into them endlessly, wiring monthly checks that smelled faintly of printer ink when I licked the envelope shut, funding Leela's kids' private school tuitions with fees from my commissions, even co-signing Dad's home equity loan for his dream workshop edition, the hammer blows echoing through video calls as I watched progress from afar. They called it support, I called it love, blind and binding. Leela would text sporadically, her messages popping up with emojis of hearts and thumbs up, complaining about her stressful job, while I bit back tales of my own boardroom battles. One detail always nagged, though, a faded keychain Dad fiddled with during those visits, engraved with a tiny wave cresting over the letters CR, initials that meant nothing to me then, dangling cold and metallic from his belt loop as he grilled steaks, sizzle popping fat into flames. It swung like a pendulum, ticking unspoken secrets, but I dismissed it, too eager for their approval to question the glint in his eye. That birthday party cracked it all open, mid-toast, when the real gut punch landed. We'd planned a joint celebration at Mom and Dad's, string lights twinkling warm overhead, casting shadows on faces flushed from Pinot Noir that left purple-stained Von lips. I arrived early, arms laden with gifts wrapped in shimmering silver paper, the ribbons silky under my fingers, bearing a custom necklace for Mom, etched with our birthstones, and a rare vintage watch for Dad, its leather band supple and scented with aged tannin. Leela swept in late, her designer heels clicking sharp on the hardwood floors, trailed by her husband Mark and their 3 kids, who barreled past me with shrieks, small hands sticky from melting ice cream cones dripping vanilla rivulets on the rug. The evening unfolded in cruel slow motion. Mom lit the candles, wax dripping hot onto the frosting, and everyone sang. For Leela first, her cake towering 3 layers high, chocolate ganache gleaming under the lights. I clapped along, throat tight, waiting my turn. But when my smaller cake emerged, single layer of sponge, light as air, Dad cleared his throat, voice gravelly from years of cigars, whose smoky haze still lingered in his clothes. Leela's turning 45 today, he announced, as if I'd vanished, and she's closing that big merger, deserves the spotlight. Leela beamed, cutting her cake with a serrated knife that scraped plate, forkfuls vanishing into mouths amid cheers. Mine sat untouched, candles guttering out in a puff of sooty smoke that stung my eyes. I tried interjecting, voice light over the din of plates clattering and kids' laughter bubbling high. "Hey, my cake's melting, shall we?" Silence rippled out, heavy as the humid air before a storm. Leela glanced over, eyes narrowing just a fraction, then turned back to Mom, whispering something that drew giggles. Dad shoveled pie into his mouth, pecans crunching loudly, ignoring my plate entirely. Mark scrolled his phone, thumb flicking, oblivious. The exclusion burned colder than the chilled Prosecco sweating beads down the flute in my hand. No one acknowledged my gifts unopened on the sideboard, tissue paper crinkling faintly. I sat there, the chair's velvet cushion prickling my thighs through my dress as conversations swirled around me. Leela's promotion, the grandkids' soccer wins, Dad's golf handicap dropping. My success? Invisible. My presence? Air. Then Leela leaned in, cake fork poised mid-air, and delivered the line that froze my blood solid. "You know, sis, it's sweet you showed up, but let's be real. This party's for winners, not the one who ran off to play house by the sea while we built an empire here." Her words hung, sharp as shattered glass, the room erupting in awkward coughs and forced laughs, the metallic tang of blood in my mouth from biting my cheek too hard. Empire? What empire? I'd bankrolled half their lives. Rage flickered first, hot under my ribs, but unease coiled deeper. Why the venom now? I excused myself, heels sinking into the plush carpet, fleeing to the powder room, where the mirror reflected my smeared mascara, black streaks cold on flushed cheeks. Splashing water, icy from the tap, I stared at my reflection, pulse thundering in my ears like distant waves crashing. That keychain flashed in my mind, Dad's odd fidgeting with it earlier, twisting it as Leela spoke. Something rotten festered beneath their smiles, and I needed to unearth it before it swallowed me whole. The fallout exploded the next morning, phone buzzing relentless on my nightstand, wood vibrating against the marble top. Texts flooded in, not apologies, but accusations. Leela, overreacted much? Always the drama queen. Mom, come home, we need to talk about your contributions. They're drying up. Dad's call came first, voice booming through the speaker, laced with cigar ash undertone, even miles away. "You're cutting us off after everything we've done? Everything they've done?" My fingers trembled on the wheel as I drove back to Atherton, fog thickening outside, wipers slapping rhythmic against the windshield speckled with rain. 3 envelopes waited in my mailbox, at home, forwarded from their address. Bills I'd paid for years, Leela's mortgage overdue by 4 months, Dad's workshop loan teetering on default, Mom's credit cards maxed out on spa retreats smelling of eucalyptus oil and entitlement. Pulling into their driveway, gravel crunching under tires like bones snapping, I confronted them in the living room, sunlight slanting through blinds and dusty beams. Leela lounged on the sofa, nails tapping glass coffee table, leaving smudges. "We pooled resources," she smirked. "My money greased the wheels for my firm's expansion." Expansion? They'd siphoned my accounts, wire transfers I'd authorized blindly, trusting family bonds. But 3 more victims emerged in the chaos. My niece Emma, Leela's eldest, tearfully confessing via voicemail, her college fund drained for Leela's business trips, her voice cracking over static. Uncle Ray, Dad's brother, evicted from the guest house they'd promised him, his belongings piled damp on the lawn, smelling of mildew. And my old friend Sarah, who'd co-signed a loan with me years back, now hounded by collectors because they'd forged addendums linking her collateral to their debts. Grief hit like a tidal wave, crashing cold over sun-baked rocks, sobs racking me on their foyer rug, wool fibers itching my knees, as Mom watched, impassive, her perfume cloying, jasmine and betrayal. I'd lost not just money, but the illusion of us. Dad paced, keychain jingling, snapping. You were always too soft, chasing waves instead of real estate like us. Real estate? Rage ignited then, veins pulsing hot, propelling me to demand records. They stonewalled, but the escalation spiraled. Leela's firm faced audits after I tipped regulators anonymously. Emails I'd glimpsed at her open laptop during the party, promising kickbacks reeking of fraud. Neighbors whispered as cop cars idled outside, lights flashing blue-red strobes on their pristine facade. My own clients called, wary, had I vouched for Leela's investments. The web spread, ensnaring my reputation in sticky threads, forcing me to fire my assistant who'd colluded silently, her desk cleared with the cardboard box thudding heavy. Every lie peeled back another layer, grief twisting into fury that demanded I strike back before they dragged everyone down with them. Digging deeper unearthed the smoking gun, buried in a lockbox I pried open with a crowbar from Dad's garage, its metal teeth biting into my palms, rust flaking gritty under nails. I'd returned under pretense of reconciliation, slipping into his workshop while they argued in the kitchen, voices muffled through pine door, pots clanging like alarm bells. The air hung heavy with sawdust and motor oil, gritty particles coating my throat as I rifled drawers, flashlight beams slicing shadows. There, amid yellowed receipts and loose change clinking cold, lay the paper trail, a DNA paternity test from a discreet lab, results stamped 3 decades back, ink faded but damning. Lila wasn't Dad's biological daughter, conceived from Mom's affair with a Carmel developer, the same CR initials on that keychain I'd noticed, a memento Dad kept as twisted proof of his cuckoldry, enduring it for the family facade. The report detailed markers matching not Dad, but this ghost from my coastal world, the man whose beachfront estate I'd sold last year, his cologne lingering on closing papers, spicy cedar evoking ocean salt. Pages flipped crisp, my breath fogging the plastic sleeve, heart slamming ribs like waves pounding cliffs. Flashbacks assaulted, Lila's favoritism explained, Dad's resentment toward me masked as indifference, my funds funneled to keep the peace while they built her pedestal on my dime. Deeper dives into their home office, door creaking on unoiled hinges, revealed email chains printed on cheap paper, crinkling in my fists. Lila to Mom, Sis suspects nothing, her checks keep flowing. Dad to shady investors, collateral from family assets, untraceable. 3 extra layers peeled, forged powers of attorney linking my properties, emails soliciting bribes from my client list, and bank statements showing diversions to offshore accounts, numbers glaring in stark black ink. Discovery deepened into nights holed up in my Carmel home office, computer fans whirring hot, screens bathing my face in pale glow as coffee grew cold and bitter beside me. Textures assaulted, velvet mousepad worn smooth under frantic scrolls, leather chair creaking with shifts. I'd uncovered how they'd ignored my birthday not from oversight, but strategy. Distract while transferring my offshore holdings, a final heist timed to my soft celebration. Grief morphed fully to rage, fists clenching paper edges to shreds, but now laced with cold clarity. The keychain foreshadowed it all, that wave emblem from Carmel Realty, Dad's silent trophy of humiliation, paying off as I traced payments back to my own firm's founding partner, the affair's fruit now weaponized against me. Every revelation stacked like bricks in a fortress of evidence, propelling me toward a revenge that would topple their throne without mercy. Rage crystallized into calculation overnight, my kitchen island strewn with legal pads, pens scratching furious across pages, ink bleeding where I pressed too hard. No vague schemes, this was logistical precision, mapped in phases under the hum of my range hood fan, exhaust whooshing warm over steaming chamomile tea that soothed my raw throat. First, I compiled the dossier, DNA report scanned crisp into PDFs, emails timestamped and archived on encrypted drives humming softly, bank records subpoena ready via my attorney contacts, their voices tinny over speakerphone, promising swift injunctions. Phase 2 targeted Lila's firm, anonymous tips to the SEC with attached wire fraud proofs routed through VPNs masking my IP, clicks echoing satisfyingly in the silent house. Financial tourniquets came next. I revoked all co-signatures digitally, signatures e-signing with satisfying finality, freezing their credit lines mid-breath. Dad's workshop loan accelerated with my payoff, lender calls scripted to cite defaults, voices oily with greed on rehearsal recordings. Lila's kids' funds restored via court petition, my niece Emma's grateful texts pinging warm amid the storm. Logistical crown jewel, a private investigator, his gravel voice detailing tail surveillance, photos printing glossy, Lila lunching with bribe targets, Dad pocketing cash in parking lots, rain-slicked asphalt reflecting neon. I timed leaks to tabloids, headlines drafted in my notes, Bay Area dynasty crumbles on illicit roots. Every step itched with detail, the sealed envelopes stuffed fat, postage stamps licking adhesive tart on tongue, the courier's leather satchel thudding parcels at their door. Triumph brewed slow, a pot simmering to boil, as I rehearsed the showdown in mirrors, lips curling empowered. Their empire would crumble under its own rot, my hand invisible yet ironclad. The confrontation brewed to explosion at the Carmel beach house I'd sold to CR, that fateful estate perched on cliffs where waves thundered eternal below, foam spraying salty mist that beaded cold on window panes. Symbolism dripped thick, birthplace of Lila's lineage, my professional triumph, their financial grave. I lured them with a forged email from the developer, promising settlement over champagne chilled to frost in buckets sweating rings on oak tables. They arrived smug, tires crunching shell driveway, Lila in pearls clacking against her wine glass, Dad's keychain glinting as he poured, Mom's heels sinking into Persian rugs thick as secrets. Lila struck first, lounging in the leather armchair, its hide creaking soft, sneering, "Nice ploy, sis, thinking this pile erases your debts to us." They thought they held cards, waving bogus contracts forged on my letterhead, paper rustling triumphant. Dad chuckled, cigar unlit between teeth, smoke-scented phantom. "DNA changes nothing. You're still the outsider funding our real family." Mom sipped, lipstick smeared rim, nodding, "Hand over the deed to this place, your apology." Victory swelled in their eyes, postures loosening, Lila's laugh tinkling like shattering ice as they divvied imaginary spoils, oblivious to the notary waiting hidden, my PI's van idling discreet with cameras rolling. I let them gloat one full beat, their voices rising cocky over the ocean's roar, crashing audible through open French doors, wind gusting chill across the room scented with sea kelp and polished teak. Then I rose, voice steel slicing air. "That DNA? Labs confirmed it twice. Lila's your shame, Dad, not mine." I slept the report down, pages fanning sharp on the table, seals unbroken gleaming. Their faces drained ashen, wine forgotten spilling dark pools. Lila lunged, "Lies!" But I cued the laptop, emails projecting huge on the wall, timestamps glaring, bribes tabulated. "Your empire? Built on my back, forged docs, stolen funds, SEC's en route, cops outside for the fraud." Dad fumbled the keychain, dropping it clattering to hardwood, wave emblem mocking upturned. Mom gasped, pearls clutched white-knuckled as sirens wailed, distant growing near, salt air thickening with panic sweat. Lila shrieked, "You bitch! We made you!" But I leaned close, breath hot on her cheek. "No, I made you. Every cent, every lie exposed." They scrambled, heels skidding, but doors locked with my smart system beeping denial, PI bursting in with badges flashing, cuffs clicking cold steel. Triumph surged electric, their pleas dissolving into the wave's indifferent pound as I watched their world fracture on that symbolic shore. Immediate fallout cascaded swift as a cliffside landslide, gravel pattering like aftershocks. Lila's firm dissolved overnight, partners fleeing amid headlines screaming illicit air fraud, her assets seized, luxury condo foreclosed, echoes of her heels fleeing empty now. Dad's workshop auctioned cheap, tools hammered sold under tents reeking of diesel, loan collectors stripping his retirement to dust. Mom's spa life evaporated, credit frozen solid, her jasmine perfume swapped for thrift store cottons scratchy on skin. Legal storms raged, indictments slapped down in courtrooms humming with whispers, bail denied after flight risk flags from my evidence dump. Socially, they vanished, neighbors' curtains twitching shut, family reunions canceled, my niece Emma thriving on restored funds, her hugs tight and tear damp at our new start. My world reset cleaner. Clients doubled back loyal, firm booming with referrals scented of fresh ink deals. Financially, repayments flowed via court orders, wires chiming notifications crisp. No more blind wires, boundaries etched ironclad, my heart's ledger balanced at last. Family isn't blood's blind loyalty, it's chosen trust, earned or revoked without mercy. I forged unbreakable walls now, ocean winds whispering strength through my windows, every wave a reminder of reckonings claimed. I step forward empowered, waves crashing victory beneath my feet.